Jokers are wild, baby! Jokers are wild! I hope you've got all your stuff ready, because we're going into Balatro. Oh my god. This was one of my fear games. I have this list, you've no doubt noted, of fear games. They're going to consume my life. The last roguelike... I didn't actually know this was roguelike, I'll be honest with you, but I did know it was a time-consuming monstrosity. How did I know that? At the Race to World First for Liberation of Undermine, I believe is which one it was, I walked into the caster room where all my casting comrades are chilling and hanging out, and they have their own PCs. I'm, of course, sequestered off into a different room because of my noise level. And Alex and Medic, Fat Boss Alex and Medic, are balls deep in Balatro and just cannot stop talking about it. And they are just engrossed. And then Alex turns to us, dude, I have like 1,000 hours in this game. And then continuously from my stream chat, many people pointing out like, yeah, this is a mega game. I knew it was a card game. I could see their screens playing it, but I had no idea of the mechanics of the game or the gameplay of what was going on. But having said that, I did want to get into cards recently, and I've been trying to get into cards. The reason for that is quite simple. I played some cards with my boys. We played some Texas Hold'em, and it was really fun. And I wanted to play with more people. I actually purchased a poker kit with chips and a couple of decks of cards and a little mat and thing for the last Race to World First. And for us to play when we had time. And we never got time, unfortunately. We didn't even get time to play like Fellowship or anything. We were so busy during that race. But I bought a kit because I wanted to play some cards and play with some people who know more than I do, because cards is not something I've... poker, in particular, is not something I've ever been able to play, but it's a really fun game once you get into it. There's a lot of fun moments that can come from it. So I wanted that experience. So for that, I was intrigued. And when I saw or heard it was on the list, because it was like some pictures, and I was like, I don't know what that is. I had a big clown. It was like, it's Balatro. I was like, oh, God. Also, I had no idea how to beat this. I started Balatro with 3 hours remaining on the Gauntlet. That's rough. And my task that was given to me to complete the Gauntlet was to reach ante and beat ante 9. I didn't know what that meant. That was my goal. So, what do we think of Balatro? Extremely addictive, but does give you some basic understanding of poker hands. Like, I don't know the rankings. I don't play cards, so I didn't know the rankings of like 2-pair to a flush to a straight and all that, and I missed a bunch of things. I will point out here, because I think in the interest of transparency, my live chat was the most annoying I'd had in a while. Purely because it's like when you used to stream like Hearthstone or something, if they see a play, especially people who've got a lot of hours in this game, who for whatever reason totally don't get why you who's played it on your first run don't see all these intricacies and aren't aware of how powerful this modifier is and how it scales to it. Like crazy stuff. When people are getting genuinely really upset about it and being like, I can't watch this is so painful, it's killing me, this guy's so stupid, why doesn't he know that this Joker end game, if you put it in the left position, does this? What is happening here? It got very frustrating because I'm obviously vocalizing my thoughts like of how the game is presenting itself to me. So for those of you who've never played, what is it? Well, you got basic poker hands, right? You got your straights and flushes and all those kind of things, and it has an in-game guide, so you can check if you're not sure what to do. It's always on the screen. You can just, well, it's not always on the screen, but the option is there to just open it and it'll give you the rankings of what scores the most. And the idea is you'll play a couple of hands per level, and you have to reach a certain amount of chips. So it'll start at like 300, and then the next level is 600, and so on and so forth. But along the way, you pick up a whole, and from what I can tell, even after the very brief time I played with it, an endless pit of modifiers that go through it. So you can open card packs, and that will add more cards to your deck, which have modifiers on them. So this card has more multiplier score. So you'll get a score based on the hand you played, but then you can get multipliers on top of that to start getting to extreme amounts of chips and things like that. And then you will get, like, they're worth more chips if you get this card, or you get ones with gold foils and things like that. And you can just buy them in game with your run's money. And then you have jokers. There's tons of jokers. I was seeing new ones constantly. And you can have up to 5 per run. So it is a roguelike. You'll start your run, and then you'll go all the way up until you fail, and then it'll restart and go back around. But you get to keep the permanent cards. that you've unlocked from card packs, they will stay in your deck. So you have meta progression. It's very similar to what you'd have with Binding of Isaac or Hades or something like that. It's like, yeah, you failed your run, but you actually got some stuff that helps you on the next run. And you can start making builds. Yeah, it's a card game with builds. And so what you'll have is like, oh, I got a bunch of stuff that allows much more multipliers and stuff if I get flushes, which are, 5 of the same suits. So 5 hearts, 5 spades, whatever. But then you can also then get modifiers that means, oh, I can now get a flush with just 4 cards instead of 5. So it's easier to get flushes. And now I can get tarot cards, which are consumables that you can play during the game, that will allow you to swap. If you get the right tarot card, it'll change 3 of the suits to a different one. So if you have 2 clubs and the rest of them are trash, but you play your card that turns 3 cards into clubs, you can make a flush out of what you've got. And the whole game is just make the best hand you can per hand. And you might have like 4 or 5 hands, whatever, per level to do things. And you can throw away loads of your cards, which I thought was really cool. Like you can really just... I didn't realize this until late in the game, is that you have like 4 or 5 discards over the whole level. But a discard could be like 5 cards. And you can do that many times you want in your hands. If you have a really bad hand and you're like, wait, well, am I just stuffed? Well, you could throw like most of that hand away and get some more. And you can make risks. You can try and set up for the next one. You can play setups to make other things happen for the next level. A lot of depth. A lot of depth. I imagine people who've got thousands of hours in this game have come up with some absolutely ludicrous builds. So my first run failed. I actually did reasonably well, I think, for my very first run. I think I got to ante 5. And what I didn't realize is each ante has 3 levels. So it has small blind, big blind, and then a boss level, which has some modifier on it. Like all diamonds are worth 0. And then it'll go to, oh, you did that. Cool. Now we're on ante 2. Again, small blind, big blind, boss level, then ante 3, and so on and so forth. So my first one, I got to ante 5, where I got beat. I didn't quite make the cut. And then it was time for the second run. My team was very smug at this point because I had, I think, an hour left, an hour and a half, something like that, to beat the game. Not going to happen. And they had planned some horrendous punishment for me. I got a god run. At least a god run, but I will say this before I be all smug about this. I think I was correct in this decision. I was like, we should do definitely some backseating here. Like, if there's any chance of me winning here, I don't know if somebody... And that I will say that some of the cards aren't worded what I think very clearly. What it could do with is the same thing that like Baldur's Gate does and Path of Exile does now, is if there is some highlighted language in the tooltip, that you could mouse over that and it gives you like an expanded tooltip to explain what was going on. Because some cards were like not super clear as to what their effect would be. And I want that information. There is an argument to be made for science, and I get that as well. That'd be more Binding of Isaac style, right? It's like, I don't know what this item even does. And I pick it up and it's like, oh, it's screwed my entire build. But if I had a different build, this would have been amazing. Oh, it's done something incredible. Okay, now I can see what the interaction is, right? To see what the hell is going on. So there's an argument for that, but I was under time pressure, so I was more like, can you just tell me exactly what it does so I can really plan out what I want it to do? I was like, when I'm asking questions, I kind of do want the answers because we're out of time. Like, this is the only way of doing things. We're out of time. Like, what does this card actually do? And that helped me to discover a bunch more mechanics and, in fact, enjoy the game more. Of like, oh, you can order your jokers because they actually do go from left to right. Meaning that if you get something that gives you massive amounts of multiplier based on your score or your current amount of chips, but you have a card before it that gives you more chips, you want the chips first, then the multiplier based on the chips, right? Simple stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, so I can reorder these, I can make this happen, blah, blah, blah. And then starting to learn the game. By the second run, I was picking it up and understanding what was going on and getting more used to like what I could play. I didn't play perfectly at all, but it got better. But I ended up with a card because in between each level, in between each ante, you have a shop where you've earned money and then you can buy things. But you can also, like in any sort of roguelike, you can re-roll the shop. And I got a card that increased its multiplier by 2. I think it was either 2 or 1. Every time you re-rolled the shop. So I was, at the beginning when I got it, I was like, that seems pretty good. Like, because I can just re-roll the shot for cheap, because the re-roll is pretty cheap, and get maybe like 2 or even 4 multipliers per ante. And so by the time we get to ante 9, we might have, if the run keeps going, we might have a decent multiplier on there. Yes. Yes, that did work out. I think we ended up with a 70 or even 90 multiplier coming out of that card, because I got some rounds where I just ended up with a huge amount of money. And also, once my Joker setup was better, the best thing I got was an actual multiplier. So after it had taken all the base multipliers, so like plus 90 multipliers, so times 90, then it would magnify that by like 25% or by 50% based on a less prominent mechanic with lucky cards. So it all started to play together. Needless to say, I won with, interesting enough, on the clock, you will see, I think I had like 3 minutes left before the end of the gauntlet when I actually won. That was actually incorrect, as Chris pointed out after, is like he'd done the timer by 3 minutes wrong. I think I technically finished with 45 seconds left on the gauntlet to beat this. You couldn't have written a better story to actually win the gauntlet, so very happy with that. But ultimately, what a fun game, though. What a dangerously fun game. Really fun. Like, even that one run, I was like, I started getting the crazy multipliers. And it started just going... And the base gameplay kind of remains the same. And that's what makes it really interesting, is you're still just doing 2 pair. You're still doing flushes. You're still doing straights. You're still doing everything you would really do. But now you're caring more about getting bonus cards in, you're being far more okay. My very first game, and probably halfway through my second game, I was very wary of discarding. I actually didn't understand it properly because it said like 5 discards remaining. I thought that was 5 cards to discard. No, you can have up to 5 per discard. So you can really throw away your whole deck and then bring it back. And then once you realize the game is make really amazing hands per time, but not always. Sometimes you got to make some more tactical choices. And then the depth of the game started to show itself. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, really fun. I totally see why this game took off in the way it did. It's just such a simple premise of basic poker hands that just gets really silly and stupid. And once you get good at it, I imagine you could do runs really quickly. And then nicely, once you finish it, ante 8 is the end of the game, but then it goes into endless mode. So you can just keep going. If you've got a sick build, you can just send it all the way. Yeah, really enjoyed it. I'm going to... I don't know, man. But the gauntlet is over. They then revealed what my punishment would have been if I'd failed, which is a pilgrimage to the Greg's factory. We're still going to do that because, as my live audience has rightly pointed out, I won, but I won with modified rules, such as I did not finish Katamari Damacy, and I paid a forfeit for that, which you guys are still taking part in. And I also did not do Slay the Spire. So out of the 8 challenges they put down, I did technically do 7 of those challenges, even though it was their decision to drop Slay the Spire. But I think that's fair. The pilgrimage sounds fun anyway, so we'll be setting that up in a couple of weekends. But that is the end of the gauntlets. What a fantastic effort put on by my team. I'm so proud of them for coming up with these things. I want to thank everybody who took part in the September. In order to that sub money for that day went into a bonus for the team. I think we raised over $2,000 there, so we'll be sorting the guys out with a bonus for putting this work in to give you a variety that you're after. And now we're on to Final Fantasy Tactics, which has been a game that has been on the agenda for a really long time, and it starts in about 14 minutes from when I'm recording this. So yeah, what a great thing. But we never forget, I did win. Bye, guys.